All right. Well. So we are learning the explained advice, the annotated advice that were written out, were explained by Reb Shimshon Barsky from Uman. He was one of the great Ovdei Hashem in Uman, and he is Rabbeinu's grandson. And so today we are going through, Bezat Hashem, we'll read chapter 4, and after that, we can talk. Let other join us as they, when they can. He says as follows: If אפשר להגיע לאמונה, not possible to reach אמונה, אלא על ידי אמס, except through truth. כי אמונה אפשרית רק בדברים שאין השכל והדעת האדם יכולים להבינם. Because אמונה, is not attainable except in things that a man's mind is not capable of understanding. For everything that is understandable by a person's mind, you don't need to believe. You know it. So comes the question, how would you become to believe? How would you come to believe? How would you reach Emunah? I mean, you can't understand it. So it says, how can you reach a true Emunah? In other words, to believe only that which is fit to be believed, which is only that which is appropriate to believe. How can you do that? How can you make sure? With blind faith, just believing without any seichel, without any das, you can chas v'chelo stumble into false beliefs, and believing in all kinds of nonsense. As we know, Toshe bechtav, Toshe ba'al peh, how generations upon generations fell into false hamuna. And false hamuna is beged avodah zarah mamash. Avodah zarah is worse than all the verse in the Torah. So it is therefore obvious that one cannot come to what you call a true emunah, a proper emunah, an appropriate emunah, the kind of emunah that Kodesh Baruch Hu wants from us, unless it is coupled with truth. What does it mean? In other words, delving deeply and observing these inyanim, these matters that the seichel cannot understand, you just need to believe in them. And this is how you reach the understanding of the truth. And you are zeichet to feel in these inyanim which one of these matters it's worthwhile and proper to believe, even though they are not understandable in seichel. What are these things? So this is Ana B'Shem Yisbarach. b'Torah Kedosha, and the true tzaddikim that awaken people to Yerushalayim and keeping mitzvahs. Even though in the very beginning, it's not possible to understand it with the seichel. And also, in the matters of emes, what is true? There can be many questions that can arise. But if you're actually looking for the truth and you're seeking for the truth, B'ezrat Hashem, you get to this hargasha that these things is kedai and befit to believe. But in inyanim which are not al pi Torah, al pi das the true tzaddikim, it is forbidden to believe. And when you strengthen yourself in true emunah, in other words, to believe in that which is befitting to believe, once you do that, you are also zeicher to understand in the seichel. It says in the pasuk, "V'rastichli be'emunah v'yirat Hashem." I should betroth you with emunah, and you shall know Hashem. In other words, from the level of emunah, you get to know that which you believe in. Mashma, kischasis b'Hashem yizborach v'kiyum haTorah v'tzadik emes. When you hold yourself steadfastly in Hashem yizborach, in kiyum haTorah, in true tzaddikim, with emunah, then you'll come to understanding it with your seichel. That what? This is indeed the truth. The microphone is open.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening, good evening. How are you?
Baruch Hashem, good. Baruch Hashem. Baruch Hashem.
So what's in your mind? What's going on?
What's in my mind? I'm very happy to hear you, to learn more.
Baruch Hashem, and this is just the basics of Dibura Yemuna and Dibura Emes.
Mm-hmm.
He continues that it's not possible to get to the Emes except through getting close to Tzaddikim Amitim and keeping the eitzes. It's the only way to get there. Even when there are obstacles that are blocking your way. In other words, when it seems like when you're doing what the tzaddikim say, what they advise, and it seems as if their eitzes, which is only al pi Torah, only al pi Emunah, chas v'chalila will kill off your parnasa, or chas v'chalila, or the cover, whoever it is that does it, will be diminished, or whatever. So don't worry about it. It's not the truth. It only seems like that. Because really, al hogad al pi Torah, al pi das tzaddik emes does not harm anything. Adrabah. True, but with true Benus, you see that an hogad al pi Torah and the das of tzaddik emes, it harbors within it, has embedded within it a great toivo, even in Gashmis, not just in Ruchnis, especially in Ruchnis. Sof kol sof, nothing is going to be left over for a person except keeping the Torah. That's what he held himself in keeping the Torah and the das of tzaddik emes. As it says in the 6th parak of Pirkei Avos, En melavin la'ol ha'odom lo kesef v'lo zav v'lo avanim toivos u'margolios. Nothing accompanies a person, in Olam Haba, not gold, not silver, not precious stones, אלא Torah מעשים טובים בלבד, except Torah and good deeds alone. עוד צריך לדעת, and you still need to know, כי בלי דעת צדיק האמס, without the da'ats of the true tzaddikim, אי אפשר להבין שום פירוש אמיתי. It is not possible to understand a true understanding. in Torah שבכתב ותורה שבעל פה. It says in Likutei Moharan, חלק א' סיום נ"ז. That's why you have to be mekayem the aces and the opinions of Tzadikei Emes, and to behave al pi the Torah in all the midas and all the anhagas the way that they instruct, without looking at any kind of obstacles along the way. Because when you are getting close to Tzadikei Emes, and but you don't keep their advice, this is not called that you're getting closer.
Mhm.
If you don't behave according to Torah, this is not called iskarus. It says likut halachos. But when you keep their eitzes, what it does, it engraves the truth in you, and a person understands and feels what are the things that are worth believing in, and a person is able to stay away from false amunos.
Mhm.
It's also it's very, very important to get away from the Eitzas Rishoim and those that are against the Emes. And those people that dispute and persecute the Tzadikei Emes and hate their opinions and their advice. And such opinion, such das, is forbidden to accept, because their opinions and their advice actually are the opposite of the Emes. In another Nekuda, by being Mekayah mitzvahs tzitzis properly, a person is being saved from Taivas Niyuf and from the advice of Rishoim, Yizochet Titikun Abris, and to be Mekayah the eitzes of Tzadikei Emes. So what do you guys think?
Very strong.
Ma?
חזק מאוד. בעזרת השם.
Yeah.
אין שאלות.
Inshallah.
No questions. It's so simple. כל כך ברור.
Yeah. Rabbi Wise,
שבאמת אין שאלות.
hey. Rabbi Wise, are you with us?
I don't find it so simple. I was just reading before our class some Kabbalah, and they were talking about Rabbi Afula and his Kabbalah, and he was attacked viciously by the Rashba and other Gedolim, attacked viciously.
I'm sorry. Can you repeat that? I didn't understand. You were reading what?
I was reading. I don't have the safe in front of me, but there was it's um it's about different Kabbalists and what they contributed to our learning Kabbalah and the different forms of meditation and different things.
Okay.
And one of the biggest figures in Kabbalah was Abdefula. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it properly. Abfula.
Abulafia, probably.
And he was attacked viciously
Mhm.
by Gedolim, attacked viciously, and yet he's a leading figure in by many the Lurie and others, by many, for what he's contributed. So it was like sometimes it can be very confusing as to even whether those attacks on our Gedolim are how to evaluate them. So it sounds very nice what you're saying, but it seems a lot more complicated to follow than seems very complicated to follow in terms of the different ways people will try to destroy the truth and try to destroy um, uh, our tzaddikim who try to guide us in life because whether jealousy or they feel they're diminished by them, whatever. But it's a complicated world as far as I'm concerned. Complicated.
Very true. What you're saying is absolutely true because in reality, the people from the other side say exactly the same words. I mean, the people that are against the Tzaddik Emes are claiming that they are protecting the Emes.
Right.
Absolutely. Rabbi Sora, what do you say? Have you had some experience in that? Have you, Rabbi Weiss?
Are you throwing the question open to everybody, or are you directing it
It's
to
a
me?
hard question. I don't have an answer for it. Something what
Have you
on
ever
one side you
encountered that?
say again.
Have you encountered that?
No, I'll tell you why. Because my father is a Baal Tshuva, and he gets from everybody. So that's how I grown. Is it doesn't matter Chabad, Breslev, who it doesn't matter who we get from everybody. So I never somebody spoke about anybody. So by us, it's something that's very strong and very forbidden to talk neged any rabbi, and doesn't matter if there's machlokes, no machlokes. So
Very
so
good.
I understand the question very much, but it's not something where we.
Hashem, this is the best way. Have you had experience with that, Rabbi Wise?
Um, yes, I think I've had experiences with with um with people that have opposed, Rabbi Nachman very strongly, and the part of we have a direct relationship with Hashem, and those who I forgot which principle it is in the Torah, but that we should only we should only there should be no intermediary between us and Hashem, and in Breslov we talk about an intermediary, and we believe in this intermediary, our tzaddikim. So it can be a little hard to kind of. I mean, I think intuitively I just follow the tzaddikim, but when you hear arguments that are quite strong and quite convincing against some of these ideas that we follow in Breslov, am I
There's
saying it properly?
there's just a little problem with that assertion. In the
Go
Torah,
ahead.
it says, Moshe Rabbeinu says, I'm standing between Hashem and you.
Yes.
What do they do with that?
Yeah, it's a good comeback. It's a great comeback.
We're gonna
Yes.
do with that. And the people says that we can, we heard a Kodesh Baruch Hu after the Torah. He says, don't let the Kodesh Baruch Hu speak to us directly, because he speaks to us, we will die. You go speak to Hashem and you come to us and tell us what he says. Where's the problem there? What do you do then? How do they explain that?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay, I
In,
think
in,
that it's
in-
worthwhile. It's definitely
yes.
worthwhile to get into this particular Nikuda a little bit.
Okay.
You see, whenever people have, they say, Rabbi Nachman claims that he's this and he's that, and he's like, what about the Vilna Gaon? What about the Ramchal? What about Rashi? What about, they say all these great tzaddikim for the generations. What about them? How can you claim Rabbi Nachman to be greater than, I don't know, whatever? Especially, when we said that there were five, there was, from Moshe Rabbeinu, Shem Bar Yochai, Rabbeinu Arizal, the Baal Shem Tov, and Rabbeinu HaKadosh. So the problem that they have about what you call an intermediary is, so first of all, the question is blown out of the water immediately when you mention Moshe Rabbeinu.
Mm-hmm.
Moshe Rabbeinu says, Mefurish, Ani oimed ben Hashem or benechem. I'm standing between you and Hashem. So the problem with the principle of is there an intermediary and what's the role of an intermediary is already blown off the water. We have
I do. I hear.
we have, but let's just take it a few steps weiter. When you speak about Moshe Rabbeinu, and you see in the machloikas, the strife of Korach and his in Adosai and his band of merry men. The Torah says, who were the people with Korach? Were 250 heads of Sanhedrin. In other words, the people that were with Korach against Moshe Rabbeinu were the Vilna Gaon of Dor Midbar, Reb Chaim Kanievsky of Dor Midbar, the Chassam Sofer of Dor Midbar.
Mm-hmm. Uh-huh.
All those people were far greater than all these people that we know of, and they were all with Korach against Moshe Rabbeinu. And just think about it. Korach said that he wanted the avodah of the Ketores. Why should Aaron Cohen be zocher that? It's the finest avodas Hashem. Moshe Rabbeinu said, no problem. Just remember, only the person that HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself trusts to bring the Ketores, the incense, he is the one who is going to survive. Everybody else will die. In other words, they all took this the machtos, where they put the Ketores on them. They all brought the incense to the Mishkan, knowing full well that if they are not the chosen one, they're dying.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as I said before, there was not chas v'chalila small people. There was people that are far greater than anyone we know and anybody we can think of. They were so devoted to avodas Hashem. They wanted the Seva Kodesh Baruch Hu so badly that they were willing to take the risk. I mean, 251 will survive. The chance of you being the one is 250 to 1. And yet they did it. They did it because they wanted to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and they believed what Korach told them. They did not believe in the Eitzah of the Tzaddik Emes, which is Moshe Rabbeinu. They believed the Eitzah of Korach. And they were so intent in serving HaKadosh Baruch Hu, even if it cost them their lives. Now, HaKadosh Baruch Hu reacted to all this, with extreme anger, and he said to Moshe Rabbeinu, I'm going to finish everybody off. Why? What is so bad? What did they ask him? They were all tzaddikim. Korach says, Kol Edo, the entire nation, Kulam Kedoshim, they're all holy. The Rambam says, everybody in Dura Midbar, they all seeked the level of prophecy. And the Rambam says, and most of them attained it. We can say, Moshe Rabbeinu says to Yeshua, Miten kol am Hashem neviim. That all the people of Israel were neviim, which means most of them were, but not all of them. Moshe Rabbeinu said, all of them would be. We cannot possibly fathom what does it mean to be in this level. In Chabad, they say that there are basically 5 species. Species. It's like a level of existences. There's Domem, Tzomeach, Chai, Medaber. There's Jew in the 5th one, and the 6th one is Navi, is a prophet. In other words, the prophet is superior to a Jew, as a Jew is superior to a Goy, and more than that. In other words, even more so. A prophet is more superior to a regular Jew than a regular Jew is superior to a Goy. Which is far more superior than a Goy is superior to an animal, which is more superior than a plant, and much superior to the inanimate, to a rock. You're talking about Madrega, that almost all of them, practically each and every one of them. Who got so upset. That's it, I'm finishing it all off. Till Moshe Rabbeinu says, the one man sinned and you're going to annihilate the entire Am Yisrael. The Nakuda was, they did not understand that Moshe Rabbeinu is a tzaddik emes, in a level which is not that he's not just greater than they are, but it was immeasurable. The difference between Moshe Rabbeinu and everybody else was immeasurable. Greater than a prophet to a rock, skipping over a Jew, Goy, animal, and plants. It's not possible to comprehend the entire Torah we got through Moshe Rabbeinu. Because Baruch Hu says, Zichru Teres Moshe Avdi, remember the Torah of Moshe, my slave, my servant. So when you go to people who says, listen, you can't have an intermediary between you and the Kodesh Baruch Hu. So you bring out the point, yeah, but what about Moshe Rabbeinu? Moshe Rabbeinu says, Ani omed ben Hashem benechem. I'm standing between Hashem and you. So the answer would be, okay, listen, Moshe Rabbeinu is a singular case. There's never been a person like Moshe Rabbeinu since then, before then, and since then. Okay, that would probably be the answer. That is the answer that they answer. It's Moshe Rabbeinu, that's it. But that is really not a true answer. Because even they will admit that there is a second Moshe. What is the second Moshe? Mashiach. The Zohar says, Mashaya hu shiyeh. Is Rosh Hashanah Moshe. Mashiach is going to be even greater than Moshe Rabbeinu. In other words, that kind of phenomena of a quantum leap in the essence of the tzaddik that Moshe Rabbeinu represented is not a singularity. It's not a one-time thing. Even they admit there's going to be a second one, it's Mashiach. Okay? So now comes the question, the only question comes is, are there other tzadikei emes in between? That are quantumly different than all the other tzaddikim. It does not diminish from the light of all the tzaddikim, chas v'chalila, b'kol haderech. So that's what Rabbeinu said, that you have Moshe Rabbeinu. Before Moshe Rabbeinu, Am Yisrael had the halachic status of Bnei Noach. Once Moshe Rabbeinu brought the Torah, it is not possible to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu the way the serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu day before. Yaakov Avinu has kept the mitzvah of tefillin by sticking the branches of livne by the trough of the sheep. It says this was a tefillin of Yaakov Avinu. If anybody in Madrega of Yaakov Avinu, after Moshe Rabbeinu received the Torah, would try to put on tefillin, mechanisms of that way, doesn't work. You didn't put on tefillin. Because once the Torah was given through Moshe Rabbeinu, once the Torah goes through the tzaddik emes la'amitoy, it is not possible to get close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu in any other way. Is that clear? Hello?
Yes, it's clear, but the question is, if it
Yeah.
doesn't make it more complicated, what now is, after you explained it, the 250 Kuei Edo, okay, your big tzaddikim, and how we could know really, because they understand that the big tzaddikim. That means they were really tzaddikim. So how we could know, not against other people, that's not the question. That's not
You are 100% correct with your question.
Mhm.
You're 100% correct with your question. The answer always is and always was, as we say, how do you know who is the tzaddik emes? And the tzaddik emes is the one that when you get close to him, you get motivated to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You feel like a different essence was injected into your veins.
Mhm.
It doesn't mean that you're greater than other people, that are not close to the tzaddik. Had they been close to the tzaddik, they would be far greater than you, a lot greater than you.
We're not close.
But see, the thing is, I've seen it. You open up. I heard diburim of various people that are close to Rabbeinu, and quite a few of them say various things that are not there yet. Okay? But nevertheless, you find that the standard that they put for themselves about getting close to the tzaddik, about avodas Hashem, about his bodhitus, about learning, about davening, about knowing that this world has an end. Every single day brings us closer to the end of our lives, and we get to the next world. Nothing will be forgotten. Nothing will be forget about that. Nothing. This kind of single focus and this kind of driven energy. That's the thing that Avraham Avinu put in all his children. That's what Moshe Rabbeinu put in the Torah. And when Am Yisrael was in a fork in the road, as it would say, and they were going to be lost, there was the biggest confrontation between Am Yisrael and the Roman Empire. I mean, the Romans ruled over the Jews for a long time. There were ups and downs and all kinds of this, but the time of Shimon Bar Yochai, there were very, very bad times. And Reb Shimon Bar Yochai had to go against the Romans, not with a sword, but by going to the cave for 13 years and learning and bringing down the Zohar College and bringing down the Tikkun Zohar. That Tikkun that Reb Shimon Bar Yochai brought to the world has actually broken the yoke of the Romans from Am Yisrael. That's it. After Reb Bar Yochai, they no longer went against Chacham Yisrael. That period is ended. And then you had again, Am Yisrael was going downhill until they got to the days of Arizal. There were Marranos in Spain. Jews were getting lost. Arizal brought a whole new level of understanding Torah in the world. Different levels in Kabbalah. Now people think, okay, how much is the limud of Shem Bar Yochai or Arizal is really relevant to my life? I mean, I don't learn Zohar. I don't learn Tikkun Zohar. I don't learn Kisva Arizal. What's so? No, but the point is that the minute that Reb Shimon Bar Yochai brought the Zohar to the world, the limud Torah was made possible for everyone. In Ponivej and in Hebron and Shiva Smir and everywhere else. All this is possible because of Shimon Bar Yochai brought into this world the Zohar. It doesn't matter whether they learn the Zohar, they don't learn the Zohar. Same thing with Kisva Arizal. And again, the Jewish nation was going downhill up to the point that it was split into two people. The scholars, and the simple people, and they were both lost. Because the scholars, starting looking at minutia and learning things that didn't make any difference at all, as it were, and the simple people simply getting lost, was second-class citizen. Talk about apartheid. So Baal Shem HaKadosh came to the world, and he meant these two pieces together. Elevating the limud Torah and from this didactic, almost like small-minded hair-splitting, meaningless hair-splitting, to learning Torah b'kedusha b'tahara and l'shem shamayim in a way that was never done before. On the other hand, he elevated the cheshivas of the simple people, and elevated. You can see that by Moshe Rabbeinu and by Reb Shimon Bar Yochai, Rabbeinu Arizal, Rabbeinu Baal Shem Tov, this was an elevation of the concept of the tzaddik amiti. Until today, we don't know where the gravesite of Moshe Rabbeinu is. Until today, every Lag BaOmer, Am Yisrael goes to Meron. Do they learn Zohar? Do they learn Tikkun Zohar? Do they know what they're talking about, B'chlal? Learned? No. But in Rabbi Shimon Tzadika, Rabbi Shimon is a tzaddik. Because it was in that particular period that Shimon Bar Yochai came that Yimach Shimon v'Zichron, Yoshke Pondri came and defiled the most precious treasure of Am Yisrael, and that's the concept of the tzaddik. The snake came and took a bite from the apple and left the bite mark with the spit on the apple. That is the source of we cannot have anybody in between and so forth and so on, because I fear maybe we are like them.
We're afraid that's what we mean.
Yeah, they're afraid, maybe you're talking Christianity to them, Chas v'Chalila. if you dare go in the concept that there is Anochi Omed Ben Hashem Benechem, then what's the difference between you and Shem Yirachem? You know this. The answer is the difference is Torah.
But even so, there was times like Shabtai Tzvi and other
Right. That's right.
Rishonim,
That's
what
right.
did
That's right.
about Koziva, about Kochba.
This is absolutely right.
Mhm.
This is absolutely right. The point is that in all the generations, we are constantly looking for tzaddikim emes, and in all the generations, there are people, there are scoundrels who are trying to lead us astray. Like Shabtai Tzvi, יימח שמם, and the Frankisten, Shem Rishim Yirkav, and all those. So he says, so what can you do? He says, actually, those liars, are the proof to the concept of tzaddik emes. Reb Chaim Vital, I'm sorry, Reb Chaim Volozhin, the Talmud of the Vilna Gaon, held very highly of Reb Levi Yitzchak of Berditchev. And he asked him the same question that you're asking. How can you say that Hasidus is emes when you have all these fakers? You know, they're wearing these, whatever it is, the goddamn, they're doing these movements with their hands and the this and the that and the all these liars. So Reb Levi Yitzchak of Berditchev answered him. These fakers, what are they faking?
Mhm.
They are trying to present themselves as what? As a mirror image of the truth. The fact that they're fakers proves to you that they're true tzaddikim.
You fake something good.
Yeah, they're faking something good. They're trying to, yeah, of course it's tzaddikim, but I'm the one, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
But that shows you that, yes, they are true tzaddikim.
Mhm.
Otherwise, they wouldn't fake that.
Mhm.
They would fake something else.
Yeah.
So comes the question, how do you know?
Mhm.
First thing is tefillah. First thing is tefillah. And the second thing is that you have to speak to Kodesh Baruch Hu about it. And you have to understand, making the right choice, your life depends on it.
Mhm.
Your life depends on it.
Not just in this world, forever.
Mhm.
And I'll give you another clue. The tzaddik that is the most relevant to your life, the tzaddik emes that's most relevant to your life, is the one that the Sitra Achra and the Yetzer Hara will fight tooth and nail that you shouldn't believe in.
There is another question, maybe I don't know if it's a different question, but in the same idea is from one side we need to mitbatel to the tzaddik,
Yeah.
and from the other side we need to try to see and to understand, not to believe, to be blind believe. I don't know how to say it, but not to be too blind. That means we need to have a brains and to know what's true and what's not true. So if we mitbatel to the tzaddik, it's the opposite than to, or I don't know if it's the opposite, but it doesn't really go to so together. So I don't know if it's the same question, but
Very good, very good, very good. You're asking very good. What you're asking is, if I understand it correctly, is as follow. On one hand, you want me to let go of my own judgment.
Mhm.
That's it. Put it aside. That's it. I put your mind aside. Just be battle the Sadiq emes. On the other hand, you're telling me, listen, the only way that you can judge is by looking for the truth, using your mind to find what the truth is.
Yeah.
So how do the two coincide? How do you reconcile the two? That's what you're asking?
Yeah. Yeah.
Reb Nosson uses a different language than the Bir Eitzim Shvaris uses.
Mhm.
He says the emuna, in order to be worthwhile, in order to be true, has to be based on the truth, what the truth is. There's Kadosh Baruch Hu, there's Torah, there's Tzaddik. Okay? Now, that truth also depends on emuna. You believe it, Kadosh Baruch Hu, there's Torah, there's Tzaddik.
That's what we learned today. That was the beginning, right?
But what
Mhm.
I'm saying is that it's endless. It's a
Mhm.
loop.
Mhm.
The emuna rests on emes, and the emes rests on emuna.
Because if you know, so you don't believe.
No. What I'm saying is that that emuna is worthless unless it is founded on truth.
Mhm.
Other stam people believe, I don't know, with all kinds of superstitions, whatever it is, they tie their shoes this way. I don't know.
Hazarim.
All kinds of strange inyanim. But the point is that so emuna amit has to be based on the emes.
Mhm.
Otherwise, it's stam shtuyot. On the other hand, the emes is how do you say what the emes is?
Mhm.
Even in mathematics, it all depends on an axiom, on a basic assumption. But it's not some assumption. Let's say that it's a span of disbelief. You're going to see a spy movie. You see a guy that goes through whatever it is. He kills everybody. Nobody ever touches him. Come on, that cannot be. Okay, but listen, but you're going to see a movie, right? Every single thing you're going to ask a question. Okay, so what do you take? You take your disbelief and you suspend it. You put it aside. Okay, let's say that it's possible. Boom, you have James Bond, you have this, all this is possible. If you were to come into movie theater and you say, come on, that cannot be. You finished entire Hollywood. That's it. So you have to suspend your disbelief. No, the point is that when you come to look for what is proper to believe, you have to, the Zognosis says, how do you come to believe in the truth? If Emuna depends on Emes and Emes depends on Emuna, you always have to have a basic assumption upon which you base everything. The answer that Nosson says these words, he says, you see with your seichel from afar that this is the proper thing to believe in. You look at this world, and they come with all these theories, all this nonsense. It's funny. I use ChatGPT for my work. So I brought up, the I said, how can you call evolution a theory, being that you're explaining things it cannot be disproved? Because you're looking backward, you explain, says, this is how it happened. A theory is only something that you can disprove. Before it happens, and you can prove that it happened. So it gave me all kinds of different things. None of them held any water. And the last one says there's a large body of scientific body, amongst all the scientists in the world that this is the truth. So I said, yeah, but before 1964, every scientist in the world believed that the world always existed. It's always 1964 when Penzias and Wilson, they got Nobel Prize for that, for the expanding universe, the world has had a beginning. And the entire scientific community now knows that the world began. The scientific community could not have made a bigger turnaround. So how can you use the fact that they all say it as a proof that it's valid? They all said the world is eternal, now they all said it isn't. But the point is, you can say it also here. You have the everybody says, you know, what happened with the October 7th. It was the concept. The powers that be were captive in the wrong concept. Concept has become a dirty word. But that's nonsense. You can't run any situation without a basic concept of what reality you are operating in. Your concept may be wrong. It may falter at a certain point in time, and you have to devise concepts, new concepts all the time. But you can't govern without a concept. What failed was not the concept, was the fact that people didn't believe in the Kodesh Baruch Hu. And they went against the Kodesh Baruch Hu. After they in Yom Kippur, you know, they broke up a tefillah in Tel Aviv. Shem Yirachem. B'simchas Torah, Kodesh Baruch Hu says, now you want to see you want to handle it all on your own. Okay, I'm letting go for just a few hours, and you saw what happened. No, they have to get back. No, it's it's us. It's Koichavot Semyodi. You saw your idol smashed. You know, intelligence and power, and where all the intelligence? Where is the power? How can you even explain the fact that we are 40 kilometers from Gaza? We're 40 kilometers from Gaza. What, 100 kilometers sounds gone from Lebanon? How do we exist? So Mirochok already said, it's not human, it's not logic, it's not scientific, it's not Koichavot Yodi. Kodesh Baruch Hu is the one that keeps it on. If you have Sechel Amiti, you look and you realize, yes, you believe in Hashem. The same thing with the tzaddikim. The same thing with the Torah. There will always be this Gittin Shamalach that are going to try to sway us. That's it. That's what you have to fight. It's the fight of your life, literally the fight of your life. What to believe. And once you find what to believe, Rabbeinu said the most important directive that, you know, one of them, obviously, one of the most important directives he gave Reb Nosson. Nosson asked him, what will someone who is really seeking the truth, but had the misfortune of getting closer to a mefursam shel sheker, to a faker, what will he do? This is exactly your question, Abisal. What can he do? So Rabbeinu answered him as follows. Hachofetz ve'emes, he who seeks the truth, who wants the truth. Moisim lo malach shel emes. Mishamayim, they give him a malach of emes that will lead him to the truth. If you are just seeking to dump your mind, to park your mind in the parking lot for somebody to make decisions for you, to take responsibility for your life, you'll find plenty of fakers to take it.
Yeah.
And look, let's be open about it. It's very attractive because indecision is very difficult. We want to have somebody to believe blindly in, to make the decisions for us. But that in itself can be done either with emes or b'sheker. It can be done b'emes because you want to know, what does the Kodesh Baruch Hu want me to do? My mind is corrupted. My mind is filled with jumping monkeys. I have like the worst ideas possible. what I understand is right is 95% wrong. Maybe 99% wrong. But so I need advice. I need advice. I have to go to a tzaddik emes that he is totally emes, kulei emes. On the other hand, I have to be careful from putting my mind aside for the sake of getting out of having to make decisions, of getting out of uncertainty. Just park my mind by him. He's going to make the decisions. He is a tzaddik. He's this. He's doing all these movements, whatever it is. He's it. He's a great yid. He's a tzaddik. That's it. I don't have to think. It's very tempting. So you have to look for the emes. You have to look for the emes. You have to daven for the emes. You have to search for the emes. He who wants the truth, they give him an angel of emes mishamayim. Bezat Hashem ad kan for today. My friends, thank you.
Thank you very, very much.
Thank you very much for being here. Mitzvah Hashem. Thursday, we will continue with the Likutei Moharan in the Best of Besmedrash Bli Neder at 8:15, something like that. So Kol Tuv.